There's a verse of scripture in Genesis that means a lot to me. This is what it says: "For God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction." You know who said that? That's what Joseph said. If you know anything about the story of Joseph, you know that he had a very difficult life. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, then into Egypt, and then was falsely accused and put in prison for a while. But God was with him through it all. And God was taking him to the place of prominence, a place where he would be fruitful. He would save a lot of people's lives, because during the 7-year famine in Egypt, he was in charge of all of the resources. And you can imagine how many people's lives were saved because he had stored up food for the famine that God had revealed to him that was coming to Egypt. And that reminds me of the difficult times in our lives. Sometimes things happen and they don't make sense to us. But God has promised, as Romans 8:28 says, that all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. We've heard that verse over and over. Is it really true? Yes, it's really true if we meet the standard of loving God. It reminded me of a time when we went to Haiti on a work mission, and we were both going to do physical labor, and we had doctors who were going to doctor the sick. And it was the time of year that it's usually dry and you don't have to worry about rain or being wet. This was way in the mountains of Haiti. In fact, we had to walk in the last part of our journey, and we were all living in tents because that's all we had. And when we get there, it had been raining. It was muddy. And we said, where are we going to pitch our tents? We pitched them in a cornfield, or place where they had grown corn, and it was just mud everywhere. But we just set in to do the best we could, and I'll never forget that first night. Mary and I got our tent up, and we got in it, and we were so weary and tired. And I was saying, Lord, it's rain, but it's time for the rain to stop because we're here to do your work. And about midnight, it came a downpour. And Mary was so tired, she just slept through it. And then I felt water on my feet. My tent started leaking. And I was praying and asking God to please help us. Well, we got up the next day, tromped around in the mud, fixed breakfast. But in spite of all the wet and the rain, and it kept on raining, we managed to doctor the sick, and the people who came to work on the building worked on the building, so we didn't let the rain stop us. And I thought, well, maybe it's over after today. That night I was giving a devotion to all the team, and we were inside a metal church building, and it started just to pour. And you know how loud that can be, raining on a tin roof or a metal roof. And they couldn't hear me, and I was frankly just so disgusted. I just called it off and said, everybody head for your wet tent. So we all tromped through the mud and went to bed. And I remember saying to the Lord, okay, Lord, this is not funny. We came here to serve you and do what we can to help people, and then it's raining and it doesn't seem to let up. It just gets worse and worse, mud everywhere. I was just really aggravated. Well, to make a longer story short, it rained all week off and on, and we had the muddiest mess that you've ever seen. And then we came to the last Sunday. We were there in the church service, and I expected the Haitian pastor to get up and talk about all the medicine and the people who received help from our doctors and the work that people had done. And I'll never forget how surprised I was at what he said. What he said was, he talked about how impressed they were that we loved them enough to come and sleep in the mud. He didn't say anything about the doctoring or the work we did. It was just sleeping in the mud, something he said they wouldn't even do, that we did. And that reminds me to remind you, all of us, that in the difficult moments of our lives, God can use us just like he did Joseph and make us fruitful in the land of our adversity. That's my prayer, that in every moment of our lives, we will give it to God and allow him to use it for his glory, and he will. That's his promise. Cheer up, friends. God is in control if you love him, and he'll work everything out for his glory and really for your good. God bless you. I love you.